Hello and welcome to Sound Off Sports. Mike Davis here in the den at Fox 5 Studios. Big time show from Torpedo bats to March Madness. Has it been boring? We got a lot to break down. SOS starts right now.
Make some noise. This is Sound Off Sports, sponsored by Sam and Ash.
Do torpedo bats give hitters an unfair advantage? Mark Toddy on Facebook says, to me, it's just as bad as using a corked bat. You're enhancing the bat to give it a larger sweet spot, therefore cheating like corking. It's like when we were kids using an Easton aluminum softball bat versus their baseball bat because the barrel was bigger.
Hello and welcome inside the den here at Fox 5 Studios. Mike Davis with ya. We also got James Edward Barrickman, the fourth here, my main man. James,
We're done.
Fair or foul? It's a great headline. We may have ripped it from our buddies.
Shout out to
PTI. PTI, Tony Kornheiser, Mike Wilbon. Listen, it's the thing that everybody's talking about in the sports world. This is not only just baseball. Everybody's talking about this. Two words: torpedo bats. The Bronx Bombers, the Yankees, they set a ton of records in their first opening series of the year. They beat the Brewers one game like 20-6. Pretty crazy stuff, and it's all because of these home runs. Hitting tons of home runs. They hit 9 in one game, 15 in the opening 3-game stand. So it's something everybody's talking about. Are these fair, unfair? People are talking about it in sports media. It's legal. Let's just get
the
that.
MLB's come out and said that this is legal, this is okay.
It's legal.
So it's legal.
MLB Rule 3.02. The baseball bat, the stick, cannot be more than 2.61 inches in diameter, the thick part, and not more than 42 inches in length, right? So batters are adjusting the sweet spot. They're applying more wood to various sweet spots.
Closer to
and
the
this
hands.
is all because of this MIT physicist who used to work with the Yankees, but now works with the Marlins, and he's basically constructed this torpedo bat. But the Braves have already ordered them. Ellie De La Cruz.
Everybody should be using them.
With the Reds, he had a tremendous game with it. So where do you stand on this?
So at first I was like, oh, great. The Yankees, the team with the billion-dollar payroll, they get magic home run bats now to help them hit even more home runs than they already were. And I was like, this is nonsense. This is cheating. But then you go back and you look, and it's like, oh, wait, no. People have been pushing the boundaries of bat regulation for decades. So it's legal. The MLB's come out and said it was legal. I think every team needs to be doing this. I think as soon as that opening game or two where the Yankees hit, I think it was 9 home runs, they broke their franchise single-game record. I think every team should have had specific torpedo bats sent to their clubhouses that night. I don't know why everybody's not doing this. But I will say, I think a lot of the outrage, and this was listening to Steve Cofield today on our show Sin City Beat, how much of this outrage is due to the fact that it's the Yankees who popularized this kind of bat. If it were the Athletics or the Pirates, one of these little guys, small market underdog franchises, would we be looking at it differently and being like, would we be talking Moneyball? They're just smart. They're just, they're doing anything they can to win, and they're pushing every boundary, and they're very smart and cerebral franchises.
1,000%. And people love to hate on the Yankees. That's a no-brainer. People love to do that. But it's not like every player on the team is doing this. It's Goldschmidt, Volpe, Jazz is doing it, Bellinger. It's not every single player on the team. Aaron Judge hit 4 home runs in that series. He's not using a torpedo bat. He's happy with his current construction. So it's going to open up the playing field to a lot of different players, different franchises within the MLB. I'm curious to hear what people are saying at home, because we're getting a lot of more of the foul than the fair on this issue. Let's hear one voicemail.
Either they ban torpedo bats or they make the stadiums bigger.
Yeah, so a lot of people, even on social media, James, when we pose the question on our Facebook, on Fox 5, people don't love it.
I think
they're against it.
A lot of it is just, it's different. Nobody really. A lot of the responses we're receiving, I think a lot of these people are unaware that the MLB has already come out and said that this is a legal thing that's going on. So as different and as innovative as it is, I think every team should be doing this. Although, again, I think if it were a small market team, the Guardians or the Padres, the Rays, we'd be treating them like it's a Moneyball team. So.
But this isn't bad for baseball, right?
No, more runs and more home runs. That's what we want to see.
Right.
Batting averages are down. We want to see more runs.
And most people, this would not be capturing and captivating the minds of so many people this early in the season. We usually aren't talking this much baseball right now. So, I mean, the fact that this is the number one sports story in America right now, it's even if it's because it's drama and it's controversial, that's okay for baseball.
Any publicity is good publicity for Major League Baseball. Right?
And of course the Yankees are kind of like the Chiefs.
And if the Yankees hadn't exploded for the amount of runs that they did, we wouldn't even be talking about this. We wouldn't even know what torpedo bats are.
Exactly. Now, they do look different.
Well,
like when you take a look at it, you're like, whoa, what kind of, because it is strikingly unique.
You're moving the wood of the bat to
different
each hitter's sweet spot. And so, again, it's shaped like a torpedo. And now my question is, because of the fat, middle part of the bat, if you don't hit that exactly, what does that change about, missing the sweet spot of a torpedo bat versus missing a sweet spot of a normal bat?
Right.
That's what I want to know. And I don't know. I don't have the answers.
There might be a likelihood there's more pop flies, or maybe it's grounders.
Right,
I don't know.
Your chances of contact, do they go down if you miss the sweet spot on a torpedo bat versus the sweet spot of a regular bat?
It's interesting. And how much of it is just even a placebo effect? That's a whole nother argument we could get into another time here on Sound Off Sports. Coming up after a short break, we're talking to the head coach, general manager of the Vegas Nighthawks, and a star wide receiver. You don't want to miss it. That's coming up right after the break.
Do torpedo bats give hitters an unfair advantage? Frank Allen on Facebook says, fair. They're used to help hitters who strike out a lot maintain better contact with the baseball, and it makes hitting much easier.
Okay, welcome into the den, everybody. Fox 5 Studios here. Mike Davis, Sound Off Sports. I am joined by the other Mike Davis and Quentin Randolph with the Vegas Nighthawks. Guys, great to be with you. Listen, we always have a lot of fun talking. Mike, you're one of the best football minds that I know. When I get to talk to somebody about ball, you really know your stuff. You've been around the block for a long time. Played at Virginia Tech with the Toronto Argonauts. You were, doing stuff with Omaha Beef and Arena Football League. But you came to the Vegas Nighthawks as the first coach, the first general manager, and now as we're entering the fourth season, you guys had your first playoff appearance. Quentin, third year for you. But I want to start from the end of last season because we're gearing up for 2025. But it was a heartbreak at the end of this season. And listen, coach is already smiling, and I don't want to bring up the bad, but last play of the game in the playoffs, you guys lose a heartbreaker to Arizona. They end up going on to win, the championship. Tell us, how does that inform how you guys are approaching the season? Do you just brush it off, even though it's painful, it's heartbreaking? Do you just brush it off, or is that something that's top of mind as we're gearing in to the next season with 2025?
I mean, I think it's always in the back of your mind. It's just a little extra added motivation. The real situation is we shouldn't have been in that spot, right? Like, we weren't ready for that success yet, like as much as we wanted to, but we also knew whoever won that game was probably going to win the championship. So for us, it's just we got to clean up a few things, get a little bit better in certain places, and we think we've done that. So we'll see what happens.
And you played them tight. And I mean, is it one of those things from all the football that you guys have experienced in your life? Is it one of those things? 2 seasons you don't make the playoffs, then you make the playoffs, and you just got to keep knocking on that door before you finally get to the place where you're contending for that championship. Is that just what the progression, the nature of football is like, Quentin? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. Just speaking back on the playoff game, like Coach Mike said, you got to keep that in the back of the head as well. But with some new guys coming in, they weren't there. So when we talk about it, it sounds just like fantasy to them. But we like to keep that implemented to know how close we got. feeling that success for the returning guys, that's a big thing, or a big key contributing factor into this run on going back and using that leadership from being there.
Thank you so much to the Vegas Nighthawks for coming inside the den and joining us on Sound Off Sports. Make sure you go check them out at Lee's Family Forum and listen to our full interview on our YouTube page, Silver State Sports. Welcome back to Sound Off Sports. Mike Davis, James Edward Barrickman the fourth. It's another topic a lot of people are talking about. We asked everybody at home, has the NCAA tournament, has March Madness been boring this go-around? James, I feel like you feel like it has been boring for you. For me, I love March Madness. It's never going to be boring for me. I love it every single year. Some years there's more Cinderella, some years there's not. But I feel like you feel it's like not such an exciting year.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it's boring as much as it's been like overly predictable. The games have been, there have been some good games, but statistically, the stats back it up. This has been a boring tournament. Upset rate, 18.3%. That's the lowest upset rate of any tournament since 1985.
Okay.
The margin of victory, the average margin of victory, 13.6 points. That's the fifth highest margin of victory since 1985. So statistically, this has been one of, if not the most boring tournament that we've seen since the mid-'80s.
Now the question is this a blip? Is this an aberration? Or is this because or due to certain factors, certain elements
like
that are
like NIL and transfer portal?
I don't know. And that's the question we're going to have to see
I think
in the coming years if this is going to be more of a regular circumstance. But
I would feel okay saying, yes, this is going to be. We're going to see chalk mowing down the tournament as long as this NIL and transfer portal era is the wild, wild west with no
why
parameters.
Is that? Why?
Why do I think? Because
that effect. Why is it causing that effect where it's going to be more chalk moving forward?
So you have these little Cinderella teams that get into the tournament, the St. Peters, the Loyola Chicagos. They have these little mid-major prospects. I don't want to call them little. They have these lower star prospects that come in and they stick around for 2, 3, 4 seasons, and you can actually build chemistry with your teammates that way. And before the era of the transfer portal, and the portal's been around for a while, but before the era of NIL, you had these guys sticking around for a while.
Yeah, the portal intensified because of NIL.
Because of NIL opportunities, right. And that's, now you see these guys, as soon as they make somewhat of a name for themselves, they're hopping into the portal, seeing what kind of money they can get, because what percentage of these guys are going to be able to get paid professionally?
So you think some of these Big Ten conference teams, SEC, ACC, some of these programs that would get the top tier recruiting classes, the best freshmen coming into the program, they still had to compete against the unity of a program that could rely upon the fact that we have 2 or 3 guys, a starting lineup with people that have been here for multiple years. There's a cohesiveness, and that could potentially stump, a team that just has an incoming class of studs that don't have the same experience and cohesiveness.
Right. You had these big ACC, SEC, Big 10, Big 12 schools. The Blue Bloods, they'd come into the tournament with a lineup of 4 and 5 star freshmen that have only been playing together for less than 12 months versus, one of these mid-majors from the Horizon League that is made up of a bunch of 22-year-old 2-star prospects, but they've been playing together for 4 years, and they're 4 years older, and they have all this experience, and so they were able to compete. We're not seeing that as much today because of NIL opportunities in the transfer.
And I think there should be some restrictions and some guidelines where teams and players and programs should have to commit to each other for perhaps a period of time. I think NIL is a no-brainer. It's where we should be for college athletics. But the way that NIL has affected the the transfer portal is becoming a problem, because there's players that were in the tournament that were making the Sweet 16, and they're already looking to dip before the tournament's even over. So that's a problem, and I don't like that at all.
It's too much too fast. There's no rules. Players, they deserve to get their money,
right?
But there needs to be some sort. If they're going to get paid like professionals, there needs to be almost contracts.
Right. And maybe, there's certain stipulations, because I don't love how a coach could just pick up and leave, and then a lot of those players that get recruited to that specific program by that specific coach, then that coach is in the dust, and, he's in the wind and he's leaving all his players in the dust. I don't love that either. So maybe there's certain restrictions and guidelines where if a coach leaves, then a player can also leave, or if, certain things. But you can't just be bouncing around, conferences.
Kirk Kriisa, and I hate to call the guy out. He's going to be at his fourth or fifth different school here soon. He just hit the portal too out of Kentucky.
And I think it takes, and if we're just talking from a nostalgic standpoint, it takes a little bit of that homegrownness and that the fandom component out of it, because
a lot of what we loved about is being taken away from.
So I think it's a tremendous point, but still, you got guys like Cooper Flagg, you got top level players. It can't be boring when you're seeing some of the, it's great coaching, great teams. Florida's been exciting to watch.
The teams that are there are overpowered. It's just, when we saw this lack of upsets in the first and second round, all the media heads were telling us, oh, this is a good thing because we're going to have an elite Sweet 16. We're going to have an elite Eight. We're going to have an elite Final Four and national championship without these 14, 15 seeds getting blown out in the round of 16. Well, there were major blowouts in the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight anyway. So I'd rather see a couple Cinderellas in that spot.
Oh, yeah. We all love a Cinderella story.
That's what I mean.
100%. There's no question there. I just think it's fascinating because I think, like Pitino has stated, a lot of programs and their coaching philosophy and their recruiting philosophy is going to be freshmen aren't going to move the needle for us to make damage in the tournament. So we're going to actually prioritize the transfer portal, and that's what's going on because players are making money and coaches are recognizing we're going to have more success having players that are more experienced and have been there before. So I think there's less of a premium on freshman talent unless you're Cooper Flagg, So that's just one of those things. But okay, guys, coming up after a short break, it's time for Sink or Swim. You don't want to miss it. We're talking tush push. Welcome back to Sound Off Sports. So, 2 words. Tush push. As stated many times before on this program, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I'm from Philadelphia. Did we invent the brotherly shove, the tush push? Yes. We've perfected it.
Invented it or perfected it?
I don't know. Probably both, I would say. Other teams have tried to replicate it, failed, but a lot of teams are upset about it. The Green Bay Packers have made strides to try to,
That's so embarrassing.
Is that your take on this? Because the league meetings are going on right now in Palm Beach. There's a lot of new things coming to the NFL. New overtime rules. They're going to get rid of the chain gang. It's going to be more of a backup. But one of the issues that were brought to the table, was the issue of the tush push. It's being tabled. It's going to be a legal play moving forward this season. But should it be illegal? I don't think so.
No, it's a football play. And
some people say it's a rugby play.
I mean, football is derived from rugby. It's the same game. What I think is really embarrassing about the Green Bay Packers' stance on this is that, this play is really, really hard to stop. So instead of doing everything that we can to try and stop it, let's just get it banned and make this illegal.
It's defeatist. It's a defeatist mentality.
The word I don't have the right word for it right now, but it's embarrassing to operate that way. And I questioned how the people in the room within the Green Bay Packers organization were raised.
Yeah, it's weird. I think other organizations like the Lions, other organizations were more out there and saying, listen, we have to just get better at stopping it. And that's kind of our thing. But you can do it too. It's not like it's just, inherent to who the Philadelphia Eagles are. Try it. You can do it
and
as
other
well.
teams have, and they haven't done it as well.
No.
Buffalo lost the AFC title game.
And
basically trying to tush push.
Jason Kelce was a major fixture and player in that play. And then he retired, and guess what? Cam Jurgens, a second-year guy, comes in, and what did he do? He learned from Jeff Stoutland and the offensive coach and the rest of the coaching staff and the offensive line. He was able to implement it and serve in that role as well. So other teams can do this. It's not, here's my question, because I think this is more of a fascinating question for our audience, because it's legal, it's fair. I'm not that intrigued by that notion. What I'm curious about is it boring for football fans? Is that something, as fans, do we not enjoy seeing that come to play? I don't know. To me, as an Eagles fan, I probably can't answer it without being biased.
Play?
But yeah, like you being a Steelers fan, like when you see that play get called up, is it something like, oh God, now it's the tush push? Is it like that bad for fans?
I'm one of these people who I'm very much of the belief that win at all costs. Push the boundaries, push the limits, toe that line, do anything you can do to win. And that's, I'm talking about between the white lines.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. And so this is a football play. Football's a physical game. You should be allowed, if you need to push a man a half inch or 2 yards to get that yardage you need to keep those chains going or get into the end zone. And I think if you're one of these people that wants to ban the tush push, I think you're a soft loser. That's truly how I feel.
Amen. I can get behind that. James Edward Barrickman said it perfectly. Guys, that was Sink or Swim. We'll see you next time here on Sound Off Sports. Make sure you check out our Facebook page. Go to our YouTube page, Silver State Sports, for full, complete interviews as well. We'll see you next time here in the Den.